All right, so welcome everyone. It is January the 4th, 2023. Happy New Year. And we're going to be studying with Sanat Kumara, the framework of universal law. And it is an Hour with an Angel radio show with Steve Beckel. And we're going to listen just a little bit at the beginning, and then immediately it goes into a message from Gaia, the archangel that inhabits this planet. And it's a beautiful message. This show was recorded on an Earth Day now I've forgotten the date, but it will come back to that. And so, yes, let's get started. Let's listen to Gaia and just the very beginning of this radio show.
Greetings and blessings to all on this evening of Earth Day. Welcome to another Hour with an Angel with Linda Dillon, channel for the Council of Love and author of the book, The Great Awakening. Joining her this evening is Steve Beckel, founder of the website goldenageofgaia.com and author of Building Nova Gaia, Towards an Earth That Works for Everyone. I'm Jeffrey West, sitting in for Graham Douillet this evening. I invite you to bring in Raphael's Green Flame of Healing for Gaia as we honor her service to humanity on this evening and hold her in the highest energies of love, light, protection, and service for the highest good of all. Our guest this evening is Sanat Kumara, Raj. With that, I turn things over to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And for our listeners, Sanat Kumara is known to all of Earth's civilizations and has intervened at critical periods to send us in new directions. Welcome, Raj.
And welcome to you on this magnificent day. Welcome to all of you during this time of celebration of Gaia. And before we begin this day, I would like to step aside for her to send greetings to each of you.
Thank you.
And as planetary logo, this is my honor to do. Greetings. Greetings, I am Gaia.
Greetings, Gaia.
I am Terra Nova. I am Nova Gaia. I am Nova Earth. I am one of your mothers and your best friend. And I take this opportunity of Earth Day to speak to the heart, the minds, and the bodies of each of you. And I beckon you, my beloved friends, from the place where I am anchored in the fifth dimension, the place of change, magnificent, continual change and constancy, as the mother has put it. And it is the place of love. Thank each of you for your gift of love. Big, small, and in between. In your awakening, and I do not simply mean in the past several months, I mean in the awakening of this lifetime, you have become and you have remembered the gifts that we share together, and that you are connected infinitely and eternally to me while you are on earth and off earth. Our connection is strong and permanent, even those of you who have traveled from afar, because you have done so out of love. And it is love not only for our Divine Mother, and not only for the interplanetary systems and the multiverse, but love and honoring for me. And you have begun to know and feel in this new multi-dimensionality the reality of our partnership. And whether it is through the asphalt, the grass, or the red rocks, it matters not. Whether it is through the hummingbird or the eagle, it matters not. Just as the mother claims you, so do I. Not in a way of control or subservience, but in gentle embrace of love. So I wish you to know on this day, on this eventful day, because as humans, you love events and you love celebrations, and dear heart, so do I. So on this eventful day, I say to you, I give you my gifts freely. I share my bounty and my abundance of all resources freely. I embrace you gently. I cradle you in my arms, and I rock you to sleep, and I awaken you with the kiss of the morning air. I give you my love. Farewell and thank you.
Such a beautiful message from Gaia. Okay, so this is the beginning of this slideshow, all about the framework, how things work with universal law. Okay, and then this is just a reminder, just a little quote that was from one of the other channelings, but the universal laws are simply the laws of this universe. Another name for these laws is the laws of love. They are the understanding of how your universe works and operates. The basis of all these laws is love. There cannot be a universal law that does not have its foundation in love. That is the core and the substance of the multiverse of the omniverse. So Sanat Kumara carries these golden scales of justice that are up here, up at the top. Often he will show up when you invoke him carrying his scales. And he says the scales of justice, of worth, and of the universe. So just know that the laws are golden, connected to the sunlight. Sanat Kumara is very golden. He travels on the ray of gold. And so the reason I put lots of colors into this channeling is to help us understand the colors and the balance and how things work. So, okay, so this radio show is from 2013, April 22nd. And the laws, I believe, came through in channelings in that summer. So, because we had the divine qualities first from January on for 13 weeks, and then we had the laws. So the laws might have been about to be channeled. You might have been the first one there, Steve. Okay, so this channeling is called You're Ready to Build Societies in Adherence with the Law. So here's Gaia's channeling. Greetings, greetings. I am Gaia. I'm Terra Nova. I am Nova Gaia. I'm Nova Earth. I am one of your mothers and your best friend, and I take this opportunity on Earth Day to speak to the hearts, the minds, the bodies of each of you. I beckon you, my beloved friends, from the place where I am anchored in the fifth dimension. So now this is connected to our solar plexus, and there it's like having a bright sun there underneath the heart, knowing our self-worth. So the more our self-love and our self-worth comes into balance, so self-love is the blue energy, it's more movement. Self-worth is more stillness, like the sun. The self-love can be connected to the water energy, the movement of the water, the mother energy, and self-worth with the father energy. So the fifth dimension is the place of change, magnificent continual change and constancy, as the mother has put it, and it is the place of love. I thank each of you for your gifts of love, big, small, and in between, in your awakening. And I do not simply mean in the past several months, I mean in the awakening of this lifetime, you have become and you have remembered the gifts that we share together, and that you are connected infinitely and eternally to me while you are on earth and off earth. So don't forget, you have that cord that runs from your root chakra to the center of the planet. And that's a really balancing, grounding thing to do every day, is to travel down that root cord and give it to Gaia in the center of the planet. She says, our connection is strong and permanent, even those of you who have traveled from afar, because you have done so out of love. So there's so many different beings from different star systems on this planet right now, helping with the balancing. You've come from societies that are more evolved than what is transpired on this planet. So we're here to help with that balancing, and remembering universal law is a big part of it. It is love not only for our divine mother and not only for the interplanetary systems and the multiverse, but love and honoring for me. You have begun to know and feel in this new multidimensionality the reality of our partnership, and whether it is through the asphalt, the grass, or the red rocks, it matters not. Whether it is through the hummingbird or the eagle, it matters not. Just as the mother claims you, so do I, not in a way of control or subservience, but in a gentle embrace of love. So all these understandings and what she's talking about are embedded within the tri-flame in the heart. And that's why I like to color the words, so you just see, okay, that's love, and that's the movement of love, and that's the stillness of the knowing, the golden energy. So I wish you to know on this day, on this eventful day, because as humans, you love events and you love celebrations, and dear hearts, so do I. So on this eventful day, I say to you, I give you my gifts freely. I share my bounty and my abundance of all resources freely. I embrace you gently. I cradle you in my arms, and I rock you to sleep. And I awaken you with the kiss of the morning air, and I give you my love. Farewell and thank you. So she's talking about ascension throughout this whole beautiful message from her. Okay, so then Steve says, thank you, Mother, to Gaia. Well, that was a welcome surprise. And Raj, now we turn back to you. Archangel Michael suggested that a discussion of the universal law would be a good opening into a discussion of vasanas and the constructed self. Can you tell us what is the object of the universal laws? What work do they do? And Sanat Kumara says, yes, it is my pleasure. And you may call me SK or Raj, or you may call me friend or brother, but I am simply pleased to be called on this day. And it is very fitting that we are having this conversation, for universal law is applicable just as you have said. It is the framework upon which you come to understand how things work. It is part of the universal grid. It is part of the understandings of how things happen or don't happen, and the alignment that one can gain in terms of your own process of ascension and return to the source of one. It is the framework upon which creation, what you have called the divine qualities, everything hangs. It is the grid upon which you come to understand how things work. It is peculiar, is it not, that you have, as a human collective of all breeds, such an obsession with this word law. You have judicial law, you have laws of mathematics, quantum physics, but you do not have, and you have not aligned fully or completely with universal law. It is the starting point and it is the finishing point. And when you are in alignment with universal law, you come to a place of understanding of how to position yourself, particularly within time and space, how your actions or inactions or sense of being can be measured and reflected. So that's why often when we're triggered by something, we're asked to bring it within ourselves and ask how it's connected to us. So the mirror work is what he's talking about when he says reflected. Okay. So I just wanted to repeat that because I thought that was quite important. When you are in alignment with universal law, you come to a place of understanding of how to position yourself, particularly within time and space, how your actions or inactions or sense of being can be measured and reflected. So we always want to be coming from that green love and the movement of love and the alignment with universal law. So that's a good one to study, that little statement there. And Raj goes on, it is the guidelines. Well, it is stronger than guidelines. It is the law laid down by the Mother, Father, One for adherence to the divine qualities. You have been having a very rich and meaningful discussion, which I have participated in gladly, about divine qualities and how they work. So that's the series that came before this one back in 2013. But if you want to know the how to, and that is how you get to some of your vasanas or issues or blockages, however you choose to describe these, is that you reflect upon the universal law and what is not in alignment. So often you say to me, well, Raj, I've been working on something, but it does not seem to click for me. It does not produce the results. So what I would refer you back to is this codification, this grid, this framework upon which everything hangs. All of the universal laws that I speak of are interconnected. So it is not a matter of simply working or understanding one individual law. That is not sufficient. One of the reasons that we're having this wonderful conversation, and I am so glad that you have invited me to do this, is that you are at a point in your transition, your ascension, your evolution collectively and individually in tandem with the kingdoms and with Gaia, that you are ready to build more, fully embrace and understand and build societies, a planet that is in adherence and alignment with the law. What we wish to say about the law and how this will help you understand what we are referring to, why do we have universal law? It is the rules. It is the rules of how things work, and they do not change. So one of the issues that you are working with is you are in an environment, a situation of constant change. So whether you acknowledge it or realize it or not, and so when you refer to the law, you have a framework within which to work with that constant change and to go to the place of balance. The purpose of the law, the foundation of the law is balance. It is to assist you, to guide you and all beings to the place of balance. So that is the reason for universal law. And as I said before, Sanat Kumara often will show up carrying his scales of balance to help us, remind us to come into the balance. When we said to the mother, and the mother said to many, how will the beings not only on earth, not only upon this beloved jewel Gaia, how will they understand how to construct, how to proceed? It was the understanding of the law of how things work, just like your scientific or natural law. Now, you do not go about every single day thinking or feeling, am I in alignment with the law? Whether it is human law or natural law, it is the way of being. Now, many of the human laws that have evolved are not at all in alignment with universal law. And that is where things have gone awry. and where false grids and paradigms have grown up and actually assume the illusion of solidity. But they do not have a reference point in the heart of one. And then people become disenchanted, disillusioned, disappointed, because they think they are adhering to law, and it is not having the results of creation that they desire. But it is because they have not taken the time, this is not a criticism, now is the time, to understand this body of the law. So the law as it exists, to answer your question, is to assist you and many far beyond Gaia to understand how things work. It is actually very simple. And now Steve says we're on a journey from God to God. And I get the sense that the universal laws are what keep us moving in the direction we're destined to go. But at the same time, it isn't as if you can go to the corner store and buy a pocketbook on the universal law. There's very little dependable literature out on the universal law. So here we are, it's so important to us, and it's one of the matters we have so little literature on. What can you say about the quandary that we face? And Raj says, I recognize the quandary, and you will also be glad to know that I certainly have been prodding and working with the channel to write all these laws down and to expand on them through channeling, so that there is more of what you think of as tangible material, so that there can be that level of interaction and understanding. So of course, Steve has put the universal law transcripts together, and they're on my site too. So there's more places now to find the information for sure. Okay. Then, but SK goes on, he says, but if you go into your heart consciousness, and this is the compass that you have all been given, and that is reset within you and was reset, by the way, in December, that was December 2012. It is a very simple question. Does this situation, does this action, does this feeling, does this behavior, does this situation feel that it is in alignment with love and with one? Does it feel within me, within my heart knowingness, that it is in the balance? And this is where our meditation practice comes in is so important at this time, to sit still and drop from the mind into the heart and sit in those golden chambers, like we've been guided to do, fly through that pinprick of light, sit in those golden chambers and really come into that stillness within the self. And that's the compass, that golden compass that he's talking about here. That it is in the balance, and that it is not only slowly moving me along, and there are many who have chosen a very slow path, so I do not say that in judgment, but does this jettison me because you are in a time of rapid change? Does this align with the love that I know within me, that is my divine essence spark? Does it align with the love of the mother? Does it feel like love? So you can see I have put love as emerald green, and also the movement of the mother's love, which is blue. So just know, like, love is everything, but often it's blue and it's emerald green here. And so Raj says, you say to me, well, Raj, how do I know what love feels like? And that would be a silly question, because there's not one human being, and certainly none of the kingdoms, who do not know, when they are completely honest with themselves, what love feels like. Now, often there are excuses, and I speak very frankly. Now, excuses are fine. They coerce you in many ways to be very honest with yourself. So when you're making an excuse, and this is where vasanas come in, you know that you are working a program that is really not in alignment with the truth of your universal selves, and it doesn't serve you in that returning home to the one. Okay, so yes, we all know when we're making an excuse. Okay. Some of you, my beloved friends, have chosen a very lengthy return to the heart of one. It is as if you have chosen in many ways to make a grand circuit, a grand tour prior to the return. Others of you have chosen a very direct route. Both are correct, but let us refer now to one of the laws that I've just begun speaking of, and it is the law of completion and continuity. So you say to me, well, Raj, what does that mean? Let us put it in very simple terms because we do not wish these laws to be complex or misunderstood. The law of completion and continuity in your language would mean that everything has a beginning and an end. And at the end, there's always another beginning. That is the law. So when you have chosen your grand circuit or your direct route, you have known in adherence to the law that you have begun a journey. And that journey is always the same, my beloved friends. It is the journey back to one. It is the journey back to the love. And then Steve says, you've used different words to say, it seems to me, about the same thing. For instance, you say the law is all about balance. On other occasions, you've said, go into your heart. On other occasions, you've talked about love, which St. Paul would call that the fulfillment of the law. And then you talk about the return to the one. Since the one is found through the heart, is the law all about a return to the heart? And Raj says, yes and no. It is the guidebook about the return to the heart. And the guidebook or the direction that we offer you is the same for those upon Gaia as it is in the Pleiadian sector or Arcturus or Andromeda or CCC. So it is the same throughout. And that is the glue factor as well in terms of the unity and the love. Okay, so and then it seems to me that it always refers back to nature as well. The laws are like the sun, and the love is like the water of the mother, the water energy, the movement of the water. And the love is like the nature, the greenery in nature. So it's knowing that we're getting the perfect reflection of balance from nature, and it's all around us. Now, is the law imprinted within that heart consciousness and love? Yes. So when I speak of a specific law, you will have immediately that heart knowing, oh yes, I know that, that makes sense. And then Steve says, Archangel Michael said that universal law is the framework on which everything hangs, not only the bumper rails, but the skating rink itself. Can you expand on what he was wishing us to know by those comments? And Raj says, yes, because you have questioned my dear friend Michael about this issue of universal law simply being the guardrails so that you do not go off the supernova highway. And he has corrected you in making sure that you understand that is not simply the guardrails, it is the entirety. So when you are operating, when you are breathing, when you are acting, when you are feeling, when you're processing, when you're praying, when you are creating, you are operating on that framework, on that tapestry, on that grid of universal law. You cannot absent yourself from this framework. It is not possible. The universal laws that I speak to you of today and in the future is not simply universal law that is applicable to the humans. It is the universal law that we all adhere to, and that is where you are headed. That is your interdimensional shift. It is that heart knowing, love alignment with the law, that compass that's found within your heart. And there we are. There's the scales of justice, of worth, and of the universe again. So it's just a little reminder. It's how our universe works and operates, and the basis of all these laws is love. There cannot be a universal law that does not have its foundation in love. That is the core, the truth, and the substance of the multiverse and of the omniverse. Okay. And then Steve says, you see the difficulty we have, Raj, with what you're saying, and that's that earthly laws prescribe behavior. Earthly laws say you mustn't do this. And if you do this, this is what will happen to you. So we encounter universal law, and it is not just the bumper rails, but it is the skating rink itself. I don't think we're used to thinking of a law as being more than a prescription of behavior. But the universal law is more than a prescription of behavior, is it not? And Raj says, oh, yes. And in fact, if you think of the laws, well, a portion of the laws of human reality, think of your legal jurisprudence system. As I have said, you are not necessarily thinking in each of your actions, am I behaving within the confines or the prescriptive definitions of behavior that are acceptable in this country that has laid down these laws? You don't really think about it unless you are breaking the laws. Now, the difference is that human law is based on punishment and control. So they have no real divine essence, do they? One could argue, and I can hear you already saying yes, but the underpinning of that is order and love and not taking the advantage of some people. But that is not the nature of universal law. One of your primary drives as spiritual, human, emotional, mental beings is to find out how things work and how do I get home. So think of it, think of this. You have a system for the grid of humanity at this time. There are specifically about 13 universal laws and that you are working with. And I've mentioned one today, continuity and completion and continuity. But these are all interconnected. So they form a grid, a skating rink upon which you move. And as you work with one law, your heart opens more fully in terms of divine alignment and knowing. And then it leads you to the next law and the next law. Your actions become referred reference points to the law rather than some constructed reality or some false grid or vasana. So what the law does, and when you truly engage with the universal law, is that it removes the illusion upon which so much of human experience has been based. So that is why it is so important, critical at this time, why I am stepping forward and saying, all right, my beloved friends, it is time for you, each of you, to more fully understand the law. And I'm happy, I'm thrilled to be able to act, can I say, as your tutor, as your guide. So that's Sanat Kumara. He's so very present whenever we invoke or ask for help with these laws. And that's that for, this is half of this message from Sanat Kumara. And we'll continue with the next half next week. So let's just jump out. Come back. And yeah, so hopefully that made our understanding of how things work a little more clear. Does anyone have any questions or comments about what SK mentioned in this message? And we're all on mute.
I was just wondering, is there a difference between invoking universal law and using universal law?
Invoking is when you ask for help. So when we invoke, oftentimes it's a good idea to sit still and listen. So before greater understanding. And it's for alignment. So either ourselves aligning or a situation aligning with love and with our ascension, with balance for the planet. So yeah, usually we invoke for greater balance within ourselves or within a situation or for a group or for the planet. Yeah, well, actually, if you think about it, nature is already in perfect balance, basically. They're already there. So, and the it's really for us.
Is there any other way of using the law than by invoking?
And well, studying it, really
Yeah.
studying it so that we get it.
Yeah.
So that when we come upon a situation that's out of alignment, we understand why it's out of alignment.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and we learn to live according to the law, so our life isn't out of balance. You know, if we live according to the law, then our life goes smoothly. We don't have the problems that we normally do.
It's like the Buddha said in the last law of attachment and detachment. He said in the meditation that ascension is a perfect relationship, and I'm beginning to understand that's a perfect relationship with our universal self. It's financial abundance, it's perfect health, it's a happy family, it's fully embodying our mission and purpose. And he basically said that's ascension. So the laws help us come into all of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was wondering if universal laws or invoking Sanat Kumara in the laws can help us heal our vasanas.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can law of elimination, you can give your vasana to the Divine Mother.
Mhm. But in
Okay,
this,
I don't understand them well enough to do that yet, but
okay, but it's in the sitting still that we understand why. So we want to get the why. You can give it away all you want, but if we don't understand why it's been created in the first place, it will continue to persist. And this is where the laws come in, because when you really align with the laws, there cannot be a problem with health. There cannot be any lack of any kind, because the laws align with our self-worth and our self-love. And in that is the return home to the heart, where there is no suffering. There is perfect balance in everything. So the more we align ourselves within, as within, so without, the planet automatically aligns. It's an inside job, understanding universal laws to create a planet that works. That's how important they are. We
Yeah.
can't go out and align the planet without a general knowledge of what's really going on within the universal laws, aligning the self first.
Do we actually, I can't remember if we've done this or not, do we actually have a book that contains all the heavenly blessings and our Earth and Angel transcripts on the law?
Yes, you made it.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought you'd say. Okay, so that was one of the two books on the law. Okay.
Okay, and I've also created a deck of cards. I don't have it with me. Oh, I have the deck of cards right here. I've created a deck of cards with all the information and a handbook that goes with it.
Yeah.
And a chart.
Yes, right.
And that's
I have that.
available on my website. Yeah, that
Good.
simplifies it.
Uh-huh.
I have simplified every law, but the slideshows are really going in deep and greater understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes I find when you read the transcript, because there's so much information embedded in each transcript, you can study them forever and find something new every time. That's why I like the slideshows, because you can see it on the screen, you can read it, you can see the colors, you can see how it aligns with the tri-flame within the heart and with the return home to the 13th octave. And really helping us balance within in our self-worth and self-love. And
so there's
self-love is very blue, connected to the throat, and knowing that everything is forgiven in the higher realms, and that self-worth connected to the solar plexus, like a great big sun, ball of the sun in inside of you, your solar plexus, your self-worth, which has been really missing within most of us on planet, knowing our self-worth.
Why is balance so important?
That's another thing that's been missing on the planet. If we were in balance, we wouldn't have created systems out of balance. Our law system, our medical system, our school system, our political system, I wouldn't say that they're in balance really, but we've created them with the belief systems, with lack of self-worth and lack of self-love. So it's reflected to us in our systems that we've created. And that's
Yeah.
what it talks about reflection. The laws point out the reflections where we're out of balance.
Yeah, I think the balance it's out of balance because they were created with the mind and not the heart. You know, you got to have the two together to get a balance. And if you don't have the heart in there, it's completely out of balance. Just
But-
like all our laws are too. They're all out of balance.
But it's because the mind hasn't been in balance. So when we align with the heart, the green energy of the heart, that's blue and yellow. That's the mother and the father. The mother is more blue, the father's more yellow. Both sides of the hemispheres of the brain, one's more masculine, one's more feminine. When you're in the heart in balance, it helps balance the mind. And when the mind is balanced and we're working from our heart consciousness, that creates systems in balance.
And that's what we need to do for all our laws as well. 'Cause they're all completely out of whack. They're all based on punishment and control, not coming from the heart at all.
Because we're really good at being critical to ourselves and judging ourselves. And that's the logical side of the hemisphere of the brain, of the mind. But when we're in that self-love and it's that hemisphere is balanced with the self-worth side, the judgment side, the logical side, then we create systems in balance. It's because the divine feminine's been so suppressed here for thousands of years, and it's created systems
And
that-
created balance too, right?
Imbalance, yeah.
imbalance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the divine feminine rising, when I had my first channeling with Archangel Michael back in 2011, and he talked to me about this big picture of ascension and a divine plan and the divine feminine rising, I thought he meant in the external, but it's actually the divine feminine rising within all of us, in balance with the divine masculine, so that we're not judgmental of self or others. We're loving, and we're creating systems that work not only within self but everywhere. And that aligns with love your neighbor as yourself too, what Jesus taught. So there's so, and the 4 agreements and the 5 agreements, like there's many, or not many, but there's teachings on planet that align with universal law.
Sure.
Yeah, because really what we see in the external world is really a reflection of what's inside us, where our beliefs are. And that's why, you know, if you don't see beauty and harmony and love outside, you don't have it inside.
Kathleen, can you speak to the idea about the universal laws being part of the universal grid? Because I always think of the universal grid as sort of the energy. I mean, obviously the laws have energy, but I'm just trying to get my head around that.
That is a really good question. And SK actually addresses it in the second half, because
Oh,
that's the same question.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
he was like, I don't get it. Yeah,
Okay.
so,
I'll wait then.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it is actually connected to the all. So that God is all, and also the laws are all as well. So it's just infused in, the laws are infused in everything, basically.
Yeah, I think SK addresses it very simply when he says, think of a house, building a house. You have the foundation of a house, you have the framework of a house. That is the laws. When you put on the walls and covering and furniture and stuff, those are the qualities.
Ooh,
Yeah, so
that's interesting.
the divine qualities in
Wow.
it's not just the universal laws, it's also the divine qualities. So it's a whole system. And the laws are like the framework, like the sun. Like if you think of the sun is just there. It doesn't really move like the water moves. So the divine qualities are more the movement, like the mother's movement. It's yeah, the framework. It's like this whole message was called the framework. The universal laws being the framework. Mhm. Mhm.
Now, what I find interesting is when you talk about balance, everything is in motion, everything is moving, and then you have to keep everything in balance at the same time. That's where I think it gets tricky.
Yeah, so again, think about the sunlight and the water and the tree. We're all like the tree, you know, we can stand back like the tree and observe like the tree. And yet we can step forward as humans into situations and step back. But the sun is ever present. The light is always in the air. And the moisture is in the air too, the movement of the moisture. So we're breathing it all, we're embodying it all and creating that balance within so we can go into the stillness and yet and listen, and then we can come out and be in our life and move and be, but always aligned with the love, with the heart consciousness. It's beautiful to look at nature and just know that it's in perfect balance, and yet it's always moving too, but yet there's stillness. There's stillness and there's movement, and yet it's balanced.
Would it be correct to say that nature doesn't have a mind?
It doesn't have a mind, but our planet has a mind. Archangel.
Yeah,
I guess.
it has a consciousness, maybe not a mind.
Yeah. And before, back in the original purity, when we could be a mountain range, or we could be a drop of water, we could embody that. So I'm not sure that it doesn't have a doesn't have a mind.
That's a good point, that spirits are embodying in various elements of nature. Hadn't thought of that. Interesting. See, I have a different view of balance, right? It's not scales, but it's proximity to the center, right? If I'm in balance, I'm in the center, in the heart, et cetera. And as far as I've been able to see up till now, most of the experiences happen from there at this level, and then they happen from here, and then they, go on. But when I'm in balance, my mind is quiet. I'm not in the extremes of passion out on the, the extremities here. My mind is still, and I am the most receptive to whatever the universe wants to bring me. So that's a slightly different view of balance.
I think it's because I'm out operating in the world so much. I have to be in movement, in balance, kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah. Both are good. Both views. They're just ways of seeing.
Yeah, and I've noticed that spiritual experiences, yes, always come from them. You're talking about being in a spiritual experience in the center.
Well, when I'm in the center, quiet, et cetera, that's the most likely time to reach me. I also consider that they give us experiences,
Yes,
right? I mean, they say, oh, it's time for that, you know.
yes.
And so when I'm still in the center, that's the most fortuitous time for me to have an experience.
Mhm. And I find it's a beautiful place to operate from. So even out in the world, to operate in that place of
Uh-huh.
balance in the
Yeah.
heart
I
consciousness.
couldn't say very much about that.
Yeah,
I'm very much a hermit.
right. Okay. So even when you're driving or when yeah, so being in the center. SK did say there's a very wide line in the middle to me because I have a history of not being in balance. And he said to be prudent and to know that there's a wide line in the middle. But prudence again is being able to know when to stand still and then when to step forth into a situation and then when to step back again. So yeah. Mhm.
And the willingness to do that as well, not just know, but actually to be willing to be prudent, which I'm not so good at. So
Yeah, prudence is called refined balance, knowing when to stand still and when to when it's got specific wording, when to stand still and when to step in and when to step back.
right, yes, right,
Mhm.
yeah. Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, and I always say it's being like a tree, because if the more we're like a tree and we're just watching everything, just gently swaying in the breeze, the better. But then often we need to take action. So, but if we take action in balance, that's the key.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's what to aim for.
Mhm. It's funny because when I do my readings and I go into the metaphysical store and I stand in the corner and people are just coming to me basically.
Right.
I have scared a lot of people because I get so still and they
Right.
don't see me. And that is an extraordinary thing. I have scared children and old people and everything. I have to remember to keep moving because we've done so much work on ourselves. When I'm standing there, nobody can see, they can't see me for some reason. And I'm usually wearing something like totally bright, crazy looking, and I'm just like, well, how could you not see me? But it must have something to do with studying all this information, being able to be very still in the midst of chaos, because the store is very busy, and being able to just stand and observe. And I haven't quite figured out what it is, because I don't feel like I'm that still, but from the external, I do look, they can't even see me.
Yeah, it
Interesting.
could be because your vibration is probably quite high too in doing that work, so it becomes harder to see you then.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Huh.
Mhm.
That's for sure. I think that's true, Darren. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I also do know that Michael told me that I am a holder of serenity, and that's a very still place to be. So
Yeah.
yeah, he said it's a deeper way of peace. Something, it's peace, but it's serenity. So maybe I'm just naturally serene like that. I have to say, in the first half of my life, no.
No.
The more our universal selves come in, then we start embodying them, then yes.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well,
Huh. Thank you, dear.
thank you so much,
Thank you.
everybody. And it looks like we
Thank
have someone new. Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us. And you're welcome to make a comment or anything. You're on mute. But we really, oh, you're welcome. We're so glad you came. And you're welcome to join anytime. Cheryl sent us a message saying thank you. And yeah, we're really happy. I hope you got something from this, and we're going to be doing the second half of this message next Wednesday at this time, but also we'll be discussing it on Friday. Mhm.
Good.
And
Okay.
the link will be on the blogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
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 Okay, thank you.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Mhm. Oh, let's
Huh?
stop the recording.